Good morning. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
Welcome back to the opening trade.
This is Bloomberg Technology.
This is the Asia trade.
This is Wall Street Week. Welcome to Balance of Power.
This is Bloomberg Television.
David Weston, join me for the next generation of Wall Street Week, telling stories of capitalism from business, markets,
yes, Money Day.
Climate. Each week, we'll go on the road
Live.
what lies behind the headlines of today and what will likely be the headlines tomorrow.
Above all else, it's a mission.
It's done nothing but grow immensely. To me, that's an extraordinary sign.
We can be the change that we want to see.
Watch the all-new Wall Street Week.
More than what you need to know, it's what you need to think about.
We're at the epicenter of a global realignment on a scale not seen for decades. At the intersection between markets, economics, and geopolitics, a forum for sophisticated conversation. This is Bloomberg Surveillance. The opening about 1 hour and about 12 minutes away. Equity futures still positive by 0.7%, but the gains are fading so far. On the Nasdaq 100, higher by 1.2%. That's the price action. Here are your morning calls with just one stock in focus, NVIDIA. First up, JP Morgan maintaining its overweight rating, citing solid results
Gold
despite a
is up
multi-billion
like a
dollar
mug.
revenue hit on China export
Gold is
restrictions.
pumping.
The second call from Morgan Stanley, raising its price target to 170, saying the bear case for the stock is fading as the chip giant shows acceleration despite headwinds in China. And finally, Citi lifting its price target to 180, noting continued and robust AI demand. That stock is up by more than 5%. And the CEO, Jensen Huang, is saying AI demand is off the charts following an upbeat forecast, but expressing concerns about competition in China.
The Chinese competitors have evolved and advanced greatly over the last year. One of the challenges of the changing regulations is the ability for markets to trust the NVIDIA.
So I hear Trump's I hear some of Trump's legislation's been cancelled, if that's correct. U.S. federal court blocks President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs from taking effect. Okay.
Tencent, Baidu, Alibaba use Huawei, because essentially the net conclusion of the conversation yesterday is that the door is now closed based on current policy. And Jensen Huang danced and balanced this fine line between basically supporting the president's onshoring and sort of development of the American AI stack policies with a very clear message that export controls as they currently exist are not just damaging to NVIDIA and American companies, but the net result is that there was a vacuum that was created and China now has a national champion that is moving very quickly.
I think we're good now, guys. I think we're good. We're really, really good for the longs.
Ed, fine line is the right phrase, I think.
I know it's Thursday,
when you spoke to him, did you sense any tension between ultimately what he would like to do?
Approaching a point where I think we'll be in for a much smoother ride. Look at this daily picture here on EU. I mean, as long as EU doesn't close, today's daily candle doesn't close beneath this candle, then we should, right? We should idealistically take out this high, right? That would be the target. Obviously, for gold is still pushing, at least for now. I don't really have a target or an entry for gold because I was looking at gold entry earlier on in the morning. We had a slight play from here on the M5 chart, right? We had a test and then we flew off. I was looking for a pullback into this imbalance potentially when we're sitting around here, but we didn't get that. Okay, so just have to stick with my original entry was somewhere around here, to be honest, but we'll just go with that for now. So yeah, we'll see what gold's got on the cards for now. But I really like what the dollar's been doing so far. I think now we're in a really good area to really engulf, right? Engulf, take out Wednesday's low, which should be around here. Take out Wednesday's low and potentially take out Tuesday's low. Obviously, Tuesday's low is the ultimate target, right? When I look at the DXY. But I think this price action that we've had, the pull up, I look at the weekly candle. Okay, what has the weekly candle done? The weekly, we've just tapped back into the prior week's low, right? So that's basically balanced the range from this high to this low, right? So the push up that we've had earlier on this week is it's pretty much just balanced the weekly range. So we've had a test structurally as well of that weekly candle's low, the foot, and I'm kind of looking for an extension lower, right? So the picture is slightly better to look at on EU, as you can see there, right? Even looking at things from the daily perspective, we also have this down candle here on the daily that price has tested and we're currently rejecting off of. So I like our chances for today. Most of the week, I feel like yesterday there wasn't really much when I was looking at price, but I do think today, especially looking at, you know, how price has formed prior, I think we got potential here. There's a lot of stumbling blocks, right? Obviously, we had some shorts earlier on the week. There's a lot of stumbling blocks, right, in the way. There's a lot of hurdles that the dollar will have to overcome. And for gold, unfortunately, I feel like gold's just it's out of here. You know, I think gold, you know, obviously first target is going to be this 4-hour high. If we can break that, that would be pretty good. Right, we are really, really strong right now. Really, really, really strong right now. So let's see how that pans out, guys. Yeah. You know, I still do think gold, you know, at some point we're gonna get all-time highs for gold. Money Day gifts. Who else we got in the chat? Money Day, Money Day. Money Day. We're just jumping, jumping and jumping and jumping. Do you know what the thing is, right? It's difficult to work with this range. Like, let's just say we wanted to look for a re-entry, right, to go long on gold. It's difficult to work with this range here because I don't think this little pullback range here, right, is strong enough or is in a discounted area enough for me to, let's just say, I want to take this area seriously, right? Like, I just don't see this as a, you know, a good enough area. If we pull back down lower, then sure, but to be honest, I'd rather us take out this high and then pull back, then it's like giving extra confidence of the longs, right? On the daily for gold, right? Inside the Discord, if you're not inside Discord, obviously link to Discord is in the description box. I said, like, look, we could definitely just buy gold where it was on Tuesday/Wednesday. Like, we could, right? We were in a little bit of profit. I think if I go to here, it's got the setup on there. Anyways, we were in a little bit of profit, right? I think we went up like, I don't know, 400 pips ish. And then I said to you guys, like, look, there's a good chance, or not a good chance, there is a chance that we take out this low and then be a buy, right? So obviously we've seen that happen. It's annoying that's happened over Tokyo. Like, the manipulation going on right now is tricky. So we had the manipulation, we're having that push to the upside, okay? So, which is all fine and good. So I want to see us take out that high there on the hourly and the 4-hour. I want to see us really push above this high and then look to see if we can get, you know, a potential pullback play and, you know, go short. Sorry, go long. Gift says, had a buy on gold, Money Day Gift, 32.77, and Silimi closed the trade early, 32.77. Yeah, that's around here. That's a good price, bro. Close the trade at 32.86. Damn. Yeah, that's not high enough at all. Like, I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you did catch some profit, so it's better than nothing. You know what I mean? You've always got to look at it from the flip side. But I really do see this you know, potentially giving us all-time highs, man. I don't see why not, you know. I don't see why we can't get all-time highs. You know, is this going to be the last wick low before we get all-time high? I'm not sure just yet. Okay. Of course, you know, we're not gonna know until everything is complete, right? The move is complete. But let's just see how that goes. Now, for now, when you look at the DXY on the H4, obviously we're approaching this candle here on the 4-hour, which can definitely give us a bounce, right? Because, you know, another thing that we can't deny, especially when we look at the DXY and when we look at the like EU as well, is the fact that structure shifted on the 4-hour, right? We've gone from being bullish, creating highs, high lows, high highs, to now breaking this higher low, right? So technically the 4-hour is bearish, right? But that's where today's daily closure is going to be very telling, right? Because the higher the time frame, the more significant the area is, and you know, the higher the probability of the area holding, right? So as long as the daily picture, you know, we don't close beneath this low here, then we should remain bullish. Okay, so that's why you know, this morning I've got some areas marked out here. We had a test here and we had one more test, like, you know, 30 minutes ago, and we're seeing this here. Like, this range here is a target because look at that consolidation. I think we're definitely going to take that out. But we'll have to see how that plays out, you know. Like, I don't. The thing is, for gold, just even trying to find a re-entry for gold, there's nothing really all that clear. Let me go through some of these pairs. What's AU doing? AU's pulled back down. AU looks pretty bullish as well. Let's take a look at some of these other pairs. UJ, let's see USD JPY. So essentially for UJ, we've had price pushing up, breaking. UJ looks quite bearish. Daily picture, 4-hour picture. Yeah, UJ looks quite bearish, but it's a bit tricky for me to see a definite area to, especially on the higher time frame, to look for a buy or a sell. But it looks like we've had pullback and retests pretty much this whole morning. Had a nice play into that 15-minute there as well. All right, about a 20 pip stop. That's about a 2% move so far. It looks pretty good to keep dropping, you know, especially with the DXY being so bearish or looking so bearish. You know, I really like the dollar to come down, right? I really do, guys. Obviously we got this 4-hour area to wrestle and tussle with. Wow, look at that 2-minute candle. Yeah, dollar's dropping heavy, man. All right, so see EA as well. Daily picture. EA looks pretty bullish. Do I have USD CAD in here? Oh yeah, I had a short setup for USD CAD. I think it's already played out. Or it's playing out right now, shall I say. I think UCAD can take out Wednesday's low, you know, as a, you know, short-term target. It definitely does have potential in the higher time frame to come down a lot more, especially when you look at the 8-hour. You know, we had a really nice pullback into that candle there. Like, if you do want to swing this, there is the opportunity to swing this. You can hold this for quite some time. So it's like, you know, across the board, when we're looking at, you know, potential pairs lining up, we're seeing, you know, Oh, we've taken out that high there. We're seeing, you know, EU line up on the higher time frame. We're seeing some higher time frame plays on USD CAD, USD JPY, even on gold as well. There's definitely a higher time frame play going on right now. And ideally, if we're all gonna have a push and we're ready, you know, we've done accumulating um liquidity, we've taken out the lows and whatnot. So if we are going to push up, all we need to do is just try and find an entry to grab some of this move, you know, and most importantly of all, be really, really aggressive with it. Okay. Just be really, really aggressive. When we're getting these kind of large plays or pushes to the upside or to the downside, we just have to try and be aggressive, guys. Yeah. I just want there to be a move during session, you know, not Tokyo, which is annoying. All right, jobless claims is worse than expected, guys. So that would explain the drop that we had here on the dollar. You see, the thing is now, right? When I look at the dollar, ideally, for us to get an entry, we kind of need a pullback. You know, we need a pullback lower into prior areas for a test. And the only potentially negative thing about it is if we want to be on the safer side, we'll have to have quite a sizable stop, right? And then obviously you guys know my standard 1 to 2 R trade setup. But I think that's what we kind of have to work with, right? But like I said, you know, we're in a very key area here for EU where it can turn bearish, right? We've had a pretty bearish week so far, so you're playing with the chances here. Do you know what I mean? There is a chance that you could get wiped out in terms of hitting your stop, but I don't see there being a better entry to go long than where price is currently sitting. Like, we either find a long here or you choose to go short. But I feel like if we don't go long here and price does push up, we're not going to get a chance for a re-entry. I just don't see that happening. So just got to work with that for now. It's a really, really nice candle that we're getting. USD CAD is also dropping like it's hot.
Point where ChatGPT can do everything that a college graduate can. They can't get coffee first. No, I'm just kidding.
The important stuff.
Kinda.
But I think we're increasingly going to have this push and pull with demographics and technology. And you see that, you're going to see that in a really widespread way. Technology should help make people more efficient, which means that could slow down some hiring. Or it could open up hiring if there's a business opportunity that's profitable because of that efficiency. So we're not going to be able to settle.
Gift says gold is out of here. Trust me, bro. Gold is out of there, man. This is interesting, man. We're in a very interesting area here for EU. Take a look at GU as well. What's GU's upside potential? I feel like every time I look at GU, I look at the pound. It's always got, for some reason, more upside potential than the euro. I mean, GU is definitely more bearish looking than EU. So we got this area of consolidation, push up, pull back. AU, my alert for AU's gone off as well. We're taking out that high there on AU. Okay, yeah, as you can see, pretty much everything across the board has been pushing up. All the majors have been pushing up. I think the dollar's decided where it wants to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it, because obviously that's the conclusion I've come to. So right now, the only setup that I have that is, you know, semi-decent is EU. I would have preferred to have caught EU earlier, right? But this is the setup that I do have. There's still a 2R trade here for EU potentially. But obviously this can be extended near to the swing high, which would give us a 4R trade, right? I think 4R is achievable, but we need price to work with us. That's the only thing. We actually need price to work with us. You know, I'm trying to envision and anticipate what that new 4-hour candle may look like. You know, let's just say in that 4-hour candle, you know, we get another bullish candle, right? Or maybe the next 4-hour candle is bearish. You know, can we halt somewhere around here and then continue pushing higher? Let's say we get a black candle next and then a green candle after. That's why I want to put my stop beneath this low, or beneath that candle's low there. But I do think if we are just going to have a bullish 4-hour candle, the next 4-hour candle that's about to open in, I think was that an hour and 20, right? We should get price pushing down, maybe give us the low of the hour or low of the 4-hour, somewhere around our entry price, and then try to ride the push above this high here as a short-term target. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of anticipating right now. You know, Wednesday's high as a target. Obviously, there's a nice imbalance in there, and I don't really want to play with it, but potentially just take off most of the position at that level. So ideally, it looks like we may have to wait for the new 4-hour candle to open. But I think today's prime day. I think today's prime day to really look for moves, guys. I think there's good opportunities in the market today. Let's look at the stock market. Stock market also had a jump. Let me start with the SPOOs. Okay, so monthly. Wow, look at that. Crazy. Trump and his manipulations. Okay, so we've taken out the week's high. So we've taken out the week's high today. That's something to pay attention to. Right, so liquidity resting above the week has been grabbed, or the prior week, last week, Monday. So from there, we've had the Tokyo model, right? We've had a spike out of the range, push down, drop, small pullback, push down, drop, pullback, drop, pullback, drop, pullback. Looks like we're going to drop. Okay, so, you know, overall bullish on the stock market, right? Especially on the S&P. Potentially, I'm thinking, obviously we had this low, this high, this low, this high, this low, this high, this low, this high, this low, this high. You could potentially buy here and put your stop beneath this low. Now, do I think this low is going to get raided? I'm not sure just yet. There is a possibility of that happening, yes. But I do see on the daily time frame, you know, we had a nice play into the imbalance there. we should have a continuation ideally. Right? Ideally, we should have a continuation. But from looking at this, it does seem like we may get a test back down into this candle's high. Right? So the head of this candle here on the daily, we may get a test there. And then a final push up. Let me take a look at the NASDAQ. Okay, so NASDAQ's definitely a lot more bullish than the SPUs right now. Yeah, NASDAQ is way more bullish than the SPUs right now. Daily. Yeah, I do see a much deeper retracement on NAS as well. Okay. I think we can work with that for now, guys. So initial jobless claims already came out. There's crude oil inventories later, and then Governor Bailey speaking tomorrow. Last day of the week, we got CPI for the dollar. Okay, so pretty much most of this week is gone. So I want to see us really stretch. Looks like USD CAD has reached the target. Yeah, USD CAD has reached the target. Look at that. Big push. Dollar's dropping still. In any case, right, I feel like next week, tomorrow as well, is going to be a really good trading day as well. I think the direction is pretty clear where we're heading to now. Obviously, at the start of the week, we were working with this daily candle holding, but obviously we had the gap, right? So I think we're really good, guys. I think we're good. I think we're good for longs, man. For the the remainder of the week, I think we're really, really good for longs. Rush. Getting big pushes now, guys, man. Big pushes. G's pumping as well. It's a huge jump on euro. Anything XXX USD, really, really big jump. Crypto market has been doing well as well. Oh, what's happening, Ritesh? Money day, money day. I didn't see your message there. Bro, I'm so annoyed. Every time I hold a trade, ends up hitting BE like yesterday. When I close it early, rockets all the way. Cannot make this up, bro. Yeah, man. Sometimes it's just one of those. It's just one of those situations, you know. It's really annoying. It's really difficult to deal with. But I feel like if you know, have the understanding, or you tell yourself, hey, I know where this is going, like you're definitely gonna take out the high. So now all you need to do is just try and keep holding. Even if it hits BE hold, hits BE hold, hits BE hold. Do you know what I mean? Because at least it hit BE and not SL, right? So there's actually no problem with you holding still. I would understand if it hit stop loss and you were taking the trade early so that you know, you can, what is this? I would get it if it hit SL first time, the first trade gift, and then you know, you were potentially closing that gold trade so that obviously you can recover the losses from the prior day. But you didn't take any L's yesterday, so we got Amar Rajput. What's happening, bro? You good? Can we sell now? Sell what exactly? 30, 33.22. Okay, that looks, sounds like gold. 32, what was that? 33.22. So at this high, I actually want gold to take out this high and push through it. I think we will get a sell somewhere around this area, but it's going to be a short-term sell. But let's see. Let's see how it goes. If you have your own setup, Amar, then definitely run for that setup. Gift says, I think my mindset was affected by yesterday's play. Hit VE twice, so I thought I'll take any profits today. Nah, 100%. 100%. I do feel you. Yesterday's play was really good, especially in the morning. It's like, okay, cool. We look good to keep pushing. Obviously, the session started. We started dropping lower and lower and lower. I was like, yeah, this is done. But to be honest, yesterday I was out the whole day, so that's why I wasn't as active. We've got such a beautiful push on EU here. Right? Such a beautiful push. Oh, guys, man, we might take out Wednesday's high. If we take out Wednesday's high, that definitely puts a spanner in the works, you know? Still no pullback. It doesn't look like we are going to get a pullback at all. All right, we've got 35 minutes till NYSE, so I think all we can do is pretty much just watch price move for now. Unless if you want to be a little bit more ballsy and go for a lower time frame entry. It's not my cup of tea, but you can go for it if you'd like. This 1 minute candle for a pullback looks pretty good. You could get a little small scalp from here. Right, if we're gonna run for Wednesday's high, this is highly risky. Right, but you can go for a little scalp. Right, you can go for a little scalp. 7.5 pips. Try and go for 1 to 2, but probably have to take profits around here. So, bro, are the tariffs blocked now or what? Yeah, the tariffs have been blocked by what was it? I'll throw up the article, yeah. Let me get it up. I'm gonna put it in Discord, yeah. right, guys. Dollar has done the business. Right, dollar's just taking out that 4-hour candle's low. So essentially, it's free fall, man. Absolute free fall. Right, we've got the low of this week to target, and the low of the week is here. My only thing, yeah, is I hope we get a pullback. That's all we can do right now, is hope we get a pullback, because this is running and running and running and running and running. Look, check gold. Gold's going up now. Yeah, gold is rocketing due to the dollar as well, bro. That's for sure. And also, technically speaking, from looking at technicals, gold has taken out very, very key lows here. Right, so remember, obviously, when liquidity is taken, you need to expect or anticipate a rejection in the opposite direction. Understand that liquidity is fuel for the market, right? So if we've just filled up with a lot of fuel, a lot of petrol, you know, we got to use it. So right now, we've got that high there on the H4. That is all for now. I have a feeling we're not going to get any entries until later on in the day. And by later on in the day, I mean like you know, 6 p.m., 5 p.m.
Tariffs illegal. The White House says it will appeal. Global stocks are finding relief in the ruling, as well as NVIDIA's upbeat earnings report that has reignited AI optimism. Plus, amid a flurry of retail results, a buzzy deal emerges. Elf is buying Hailey Bieber's beauty brand for $1 billion. I have no idea what that is.
Don't worry, we're going to talk about that in detail, but let's get back to NVIDIA, because the godfather of AI delivered. NVIDIA's strong forecast easing investors' fears about AI growth, but China chip restrictions still going to cost the company about $8 billion in the current quarter. You don't see that in the pre-market move right now, higher about 5.4% before the bell rings.
All right, so not exactly ripping face, but it is up. Retail earnings this morning. Kohl's affirms its full-year outlook after conflict of interest. Best Buy cut its earnings forecast due to the tariffs and sees no major change in consumer behavior for the rest of the year. And Elf surging, as I said, on its deal to buy Hailey Bieber's Rode brand. Rode?
Rode, just Rode.
Rode brand. The CFO, Mandy Fields, joins us later this hour. Katie?
All right, let's get back to the actual top story today, and that is that a court has blocked many of President Donald Trump's tariffs on imports from dozens of countries, declaring them illegal. It's another example of the volatility we're seeing around trade policy, with some on Wall Street saying that Trump's tactics show he has more talk than action, calling it the taco trade. Trump always chickens out. He addressed this in the Oval Office yesterday.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number, and because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. We have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out?
So that was the president pushing back against that taco trade. And in regards to the court ruling last night, White House trade advisor Peter Navarro had this to say on Bloomberg just a few minutes ago.
There's no question that there's an economic emergency with respect to both uses that we had. One is we are in a world where China has killed over 1 million Americans with fentanyl.
All right, let's turn that down a little bit. All right, cool. It looks like we're getting some relief. Obviously, the new hour candle just opened now. The thing is, it looks like we are going to get a pullback. Could we potentially form the high of the hour here and then keep dropping lower? That's what I'm thinking, guys. Like, it's way too high to buy EU, but if you're feeling a bit frisky, you can definitely go for this setup here. If you don't mind risking it for the biscuit, this is possible. Looks like gold is pulling back as well. Oh, wait, are we getting a new 4-hour candle now? Hold on, let me check this. Waiting for NY open, yeah. Gotta wait for NYSE.
quickly, just based on the outlook for the fiscal second quarter, $45 billion of sales, plus or minus 2%, taking into account $8 billion of lost revenue opportunity in China, NVIDIA is making it up somewhere else. You alluded to the Blackwell ramp, and when I asked Jensen about how they are managing that, he just said, yeah, look, I guess Blackwell is in so much demand elsewhere that China isn't an issue in the short term, but in the long term, it's a massive issue. And Jensen wasn't alluding to or hinting at anything. He was giving a direct message to President Trump that technology export control policy is closing a door for NVIDIA in the Chinese market, which is critically important.
Yeah, first of all, I listened to the interview live yesterday. Ed, great job. And I also loved the conversation with Ian King and your other guests. Before that, the thing about the interview to me is that Jensen Huang really sold me the idea of using Huawei chips. Like, if I'm an international company with a big China footprint, I'd rather build on that stack so that I can reliably maintain and upgrade my network. Why aren't more investors concerned about the fact that, we're holding ourselves out of that market and giving it essentially to Huawei or other Chinese competitors?
Well, the buoyancy of the stock in the here and now probably reflects investor sentiment that they feel NVIDIA can make up the shortfall in sales somewhere else, as we explained. But you're absolutely right that the biggest point was Huawei. Jensen Huang didn't just say that Chinese companies shouldn't even bother with an American technology stack anymore. Okay. He acknowledged that Huawei has technology that is now not just on par with H20, which was the China-specific chip that NVIDIA had engineered to a lower specification. Huawei has technology that is on par with H200, which until very recently was at the cutting edge of what NVIDIA was offering. And again, it's incredible to hear the CEO of America's most important company say to China's technology companies, go with your domestic champion.
Yeah, fantastic points there, Ed. Great interview. Bloomberg Technology's Ed Ludlow. You can check out the full interview on Bloomberg.com, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of it throughout this program and Bloomberg Tech next as well. Let's bring in Cantor Fitzgerald, semiconductor research analyst CJ Muse. And CJ, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let me start with the same question. Jensen Huang was telling Ed yesterday that Chinese companies, it would really be prudent for them to use Huawei instead of trying to figure out a way to use NVIDIA. And I would think also for bigger companies that have a big network and a footprint in China, they wouldn't want to deal with the geopolitical uncertainties of trying to use NVIDIA chips.
Yeah, first, Matt, thank you for having me. I would say that, I think the first principle that Jensen's, thinking about is that, China is not going to give up on AI because of the U.S. embargo, which means that they need to go with internal solutions. And like, he said in the interview that you hosted, it's not just the silicon, it's software. It's also very large data center chips that SMIC can produce on 7 nanometers. So, I think he's absolutely right that
I dropped out of college.
This embargo is the wrong pursuit from the current administration. What they want to do is get the U.S. platform to be the global winner. And that, to me is the right, framework. And unfortunately, we're pursuing, a different path.
In the current geopolitical environment that we're in, I mean, we talk all the time about NVIDIA's incredible first mover advantage, that it really has this competitive mode, and it's enjoyed that. And you can see that in the stock over the past few years. Where we stand right now with the relationship with China, with these export curbs, does this accelerate how quickly that first mover advantage is whittled away here?
Yes and no. I think that if we didn't have this embargo, we wouldn't be talking about China catching up. Because it's not just the silicon, right? It's also CUDA, and it's all the kind of software stacks that fall in line with that. And it's not that NVIDIA is standing still either in terms of, recently launching Dynamo inference-based software accelerator. So they're clearly innovating. And so I don't think China has caught up. But I think what he's trying to highlight is the reality is that if we are not allowing NVIDIA to ship their silicon to China, then they're going to have to go elsewhere. And if we kind of look at NVIDIA today, and their R&D this calendar year is more than 50% of AMD's revenues, right? It's, I think almost, equal to the total revenues of Broadcom. And so, what we're doing is we're driving revenues, and Jensen talked about $50 billion revenue opportunity going down the drain. That's $50 billion going somewhere else where they can invest those dollars, they can drive scale, they can invest in software. And, looking out 5 years, yeah, they're going to be a credible, very credible threat.
All right, so having said that, then, CJ, what's the reason to be bullish here? I mean, especially with NVIDIA close to its all-time high, which was almost 150 at the beginning of January. It's worth $3.3 trillion now. What's the incentive for an investor to get in at this point of the valuation?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I'd say that we think we're on track to $5 of earnings this year. Street's at $4.36 coming in. We think next year they're going to earn $6.50 to $7. So if we're right, where the stock is trading right now, pre-market, it's about 21 times, which historically is very cheap. So number one, you have valuation support on my 26 numbers. Number two, we're just getting started with AI, and I think some of the announcements, and just in the last month, whether Oracle, XAI, Saudi Arabia, UAE, we have clear line of sight to tremendous growth, into 26. And as numbers push higher, you want to be there. And this is really one of the core names in all of semiconductors where I have confidence in real upside to consensus. I think point three.
All right, so we're pulling back now.
We're very early, in the overall kind of AI adoption curve, which is going to impact every facet
We've just
of our
got to leave
lives.
this to
I think
print
it's
for now.
still very early
15 more
innings
minutes.
for AI. And I
we
guess
can take a
lastly,
look
yeah,
again.
we have to acknowledge China competition, but at the same time, there are solutions that could work in terms of perhaps we allow data
just hit my
centers,
SL.
in Malaysia or Singapore to support China.
Ritesh says
And
gold
that's
just
a
hit
way
my
to kind of
SL
get
was
around
in a
this
buy
embargo. So I don't think the ship has completely
from
sailed on
32,
China.
82
I think Jensen is
to
clearly
30,
making very bold statements that
33,
Washington, D.C.
81.
hopefully
Give
is
me a
listening
second,
to.
guys.
And I do think there is, a solution that could, appease both parties.
Right. All right, CJ, got to leave it there. Great to get some time with you this morning. That is CJ Muse of Cantor Fitzgerald. And we do have some other stocks on our radar other than NVIDIA, because Apple rising a little bit on a court ruling and a revamp to its operating system. You also have Tesla targeting a June 12th robo-taxi launch as Elon Musk prepares to step back from Doge. And Salesforce, Matt Miller, raised its sales outlook as AI bets pay off. This is Open Interest.
It's the countdown to the market open as we bring you the first trades across Europe.
We'll debate the most important stories and what will drive the big investment decisions throughout the morning. I'm Guy Johnson.
I'm Kriti Gupta.
And I'm Anna Edwards. Join us every weekday morning for the opening trade, live at 7 a.m. here in London.
Only on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
In case you missed it, on Bloomberg Open Interest, how much would it cost to bring production here, Rebecca? I mean, what kind of upcharge would you be looking at?
There is no handbag infrastructure in America anymore besides a couple of small factories in New York City. So not only would we have to build a factory that could make the amount of units we're trying to make, but we'd have to bring back hardware manufacturing, bring back tanning and leather. I mean, these are all things that are purchased overseas and assembled. If you want this to really work, give us grants to build factories, give us several years of tariff breaks in order to make these things happen. And then we'd love to make in America. It just right now, if I were to switch everything to America, my price would double. And my consumer is not here for that. As small businesses doing under $50 million, keep us alive. We are employing millions of people collectively and affecting livelihoods across the U.S.
Don't miss Open Interest live weekdays. Bringing you up-to-the-minute geopolitical news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm David Gura in Ottawa, Canada, and this is Bloomberg.
Middle East and Africa. Vibrant resources and high-yield investment opportunities abound. Join me on Horizons Middle East and Africa for the stories, newsmakers, and insight from this exciting region. Now weekdays, only on Bloomberg.
Well, let's get back to that U.S. court ruling that many of President Trump's tariffs are legal. Pangea Policy founder Terry Haynes says that on a practical level, tariffs will continue unabated pending Trump's certain appeal of the CIT's summary judgment ruling. So nothing will change and tariffs will continue. Terry was also a congressional staff author of the 1988 Trade Act. I'm pleased to say that Terry joins us now. Great to have you with us. I want to go to the first line in the note that you published last night. Tariffs ruling versus Trump means nothing for markets. Walk us through that.
Basically, good morning, Katie. And basically, all I mean by that is that tariffs will continue until, say, the Supreme Court tells them to stop under this particular authority. Trump's going to push the limits. He wants the strongest possible presidency, and they will continue with that. This Court of International Trade, which I wager most people didn't know existed yesterday, is basically a trial level court in the United States. So there's two levels of appeal before you go all the way up to the Supreme Court. And finally, I would say that the Court of International Trade exists as kind of a specialty court to adjudicate trade law disputes, but what it's not going to be particularly expert in is the limits of the president's emergency economic powers, or whether or not Congress could give the president those emergency economic powers under a 1977 law. So they're not going to get a lot of deference from certainly the appeals court and the Supreme Court.
Let me jump in here, because to me, regardless of that, this highlights how little support there is, and indeed how much opposition there is to Trump's tariff policies. You had a conservative trade group. It wasn't just Democratic states bringing this complaint. You've got seemingly a lack of support from Republicans in Congress who have legislation locked and loaded, ready to go, to give the president this broad authority, and they don't seem like they want to do it. And even if the CIT is a less significant court, there's a Trump appointee as one of the three judges and a Ronald Reagan appointee as one of the three judges. So, like, these are should be his guys, right? No one's behind this.
Well, I think I'll respectfully take the other side of that argument, Matt. Americans, I say Americans because you have a worldwide audience here. Americans are now very used to trial-level judges going off and throwing up injunctions at the drop of a hat on immigration policy and all kinds of other things here. So, the fact that yet more trial-level courts are doing this, I don't think indicates a level of support one way or the other. Number one. Number two, I'd counter by saying not only has the Congress been silent on this, and silence in cases is assent, but they're actually working to strengthen the president's powers. So again, I think those are more significant, frankly.
Well, that's where I wanted to go, to where Congress is in all of this. I was listening to a conversation with Wendy Striller and Tom Keene and Paul Sweeney this morning. That was one of the topics of conversation. Is this truly just between the Oval Office and the courts, or does Congress get involved at any point?
Well, Congress is, it's really about the extent of powers between the president and Congress, frankly. Congress gave, in 1977, gave any president this particular emergency authority, and the president is, will say and that he's exercising it responsibly. Certainly no one in Congress thinks he's exercising it irresponsibly, particularly on the Republican side. Otherwise, they'd be pitching a fit, and they haven't been. So you've got that, number one. And number two, you've got a tariff regime, which certainly Republicans are supporting generally right now, as long as it's followed by trade deals and a bunch of other things. And they'll continue to support that. And in fact, they're, as Matt points out, they're working to bolster that. So, you know, I don't see people in lockstep here, but that's Washington. I do see a Washington that is broadly aligned with what Trump is trying to do and how he's trying to do it.
Terry, great to get your take on this. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Terry Haynes there is the founder of Pangea. This is Open Interest.
All right, guys. 7 minutes, 7 minutes, 7 minutes, 7 minutes. We are 7 minutes from stock open. And we'll see what we can get from stock open, you know what I mean?
Africa, a region rife with potential for growth and opportunities, but not without its challenges. Bloomberg highlights the biggest stories, interviewing key players, and reporting on the issues impacting the region. Join us as we get to the heart of African business, politics, and economics, and ask the question, what's next? I'm Jennifer Zabasaja, and this is Next Africa. New episodes every month, only on Bloomberg.
Season is here.
I know it's like your Super
Anyways,
Bowl, right?
so
It's like opening presents in the morning.
All right, it will be exciting.
Nobody covers earnings like Bloomberg.
She's calling me back.
From the world of politics to the world of business, Joe Matthew and Kaylee Lines deliver news, insight, and analysis live 2 times a day, every trading day. Balance of Power at 1 and 5 Eastern, only on Bloomberg.
Is this a negotiation or the new rules of the game?
It could be either.
It is up to the president how he wants to negotiate.
The higher the tariff, the faster they come.
A 90-day pause is not an eradication.
The trade negotiations are moving quickly. There will be deals cut.
Trust Bloomberg for all the context and clarity you need as the tariff and global economy story
gift.
evolves.
Ritesh, you said you had a buy from 32.82.
Nobody covers tariffs like
32.82.
Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Good morning. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
Welcome back to the opening trade.
32.82. Yeah, that's quite low, man.
Technology.
This is the Asia trade.
32.82. Are you sure that's right, Ritesh? 32.82. That's really low.
This is Bloomberg Television.
That's almost where I caught my buy from. 82's around here. 233.11. Yeah, that's a good move, man.
Welcome back to Open Interest.
That's
Here's
like
the
what,
setup as we
200
count
pips?
down to the opening bell. You can see a rally underway in the pre-market. The S&P 500 up by 0.8%. Even more if you take a look at the
where I'm
Nasdaq
gonna
100.
look to
Nvidia
close
being
anything
higher
is
by
at that
5%.
4-hour
Pre-market
high.
We'll do that for you, but it's interesting. The S&P
That's the only
500,
time where I'm
we were
gonna
up
think
much
to close
higher
any
just a few
positions.
hours ago. It seems like some of that enthusiasm is fading post that court ruling over the tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, if Nvidia rises 5%, that alone should add those points to the
This
S&P.
15-minute candle looks way better than
Everything
here.
else is unchanged, so we'll see
How
what
this
kind of
candle's
breadth we get at
printing.
the open.
We
Could
certainly
get a
will. And we have a
potential
great guest to
continuation
walk
play
us
from this
through
15-minute
that. Of
candle,
course,
yeah.
Sarah Malik will be joining us
If we
at
just
the
do some
open.
forecasting
Don't go
right now.
anywhere. This
So
is
let's just
Bloomberg.
say, you know, for example, we get, let me turn Bloomberg down. For example, we get a push up, we take out the 4-hour high, or we potentially create an equal high, right, rivaling that 4-hour high, and we get a pullback. We can look to take some longs from here to either A, take out that 4-hour high, or go for Tuesday's high, or the swing high up above. Yeah, that's literally what I'm thinking right now. Obviously, this doesn't have to play out how I'm, you know, talking about it right now. But we're just looking for any opportunity, really, to get into some more longs on the majors. USD CAD's dropping. In what trades are you? I think you mean what trades am I in? Just gold, bro. I bought, my price for gold I bought was 32.83. So 32.83 is around here. 32.83 is around here. So I'm still in this now. It's about 350 pips so far. Trying to see if we can go for the
Moments away from the start of trading, this is Bloomberg Open Interest on a pretty momentous day. Should be for markets after a court struck down Trump's tariffs and...
Okay, gold looks like it's going to continue to push as well. GDX, we're open, NYSE's here. I think GDX can also go for this daily high, but then it can also go, sorry, that's the weekly high. I think GDX can target this weekly high sometime this week and next week. So, let's see. It looks like stock market is going to keep dropping. Gold just touched that high. Well, it's touching the high now. Got a new... No, we don't have a new 4-hour candle yet. It's at 2 p.m. Give says, I bet gold dumps during Tokyo sesh. Bro, I would not doubt that at all, man. Just the way half of these things have just been playing out, I would not doubt that at all.
Leading up to this, or was this simply just better than feared?
But that relief puts it back in pole position. We are now the most valuable company on the S&P that eclipse Microsoft if they hold these gains of in excess of 5%. We're back at $3.46 trillion because the China anxiety has been put to one side. Yes, they're going to take an $8 billion hit. That's a lot. But they're able to see the momentum of the Blackwell chips, the offering, the fact that they're actually managing to manufacture them at pace and get them into customers' hands. That outweighs the negative effect of not being able to ship the H20. In fact, Jensen did say, look, I'm still trying to think potentially of a future chip that we might be able to design, but would have to get sign-off once again from Washington for China. That he's not giving up on the market. In fact, he's getting some flack, it seems, from certain lawmakers about building up some, well, at least office space in China at the moment. But he says that
Okay. So, we are about 5 minutes into New York Stock Exchange Open. Obviously, if you guys are new here, don't forget to subscribe and join the free Discord. Link to the free Discord is in the description box down below. Anyways, so right now, obviously, dollar is still weak. Okay, granted. We need to see more price action, a little bit of a pullback, whatnot. For now, gold, I want gold to keep pushing. If we can get a little pullback or an entry on gold, obviously I'll let you guys know. But for now, I don't think it's likely at all. We've just got to watch.
If you cut me off from this country, they
listen to some Bloomberg and show.
Anyway. The AI diffusion rule, of course, he's really celebrating the fact that that's been curtailed and he's able to get his chips into other countries' hands. That's been a big win for the Middle East, for example. But I do think that there's this ultimate desire for access to China in the long term. But look at the news today on the chip design companies, Cadence, Synopsys. They're all well, they're going to take a hit because there's a concern that they're not going to be able to get their designs into China anymore. That's the latest restriction being put on US to China. So,
and those students, those Chinese students won't be coming over here. They'll study somewhere else, and then they'll go work for Huawei instead of for Jensen Huang.
Ed did ask him about that, and he said, look, overall, he thinks there is a focus on getting the right talent into America. But he's a guy from Taiwan.
Yeah, there you have it.
He demurred on that question, I think, a little bit. Caroline Hyde, looking forward to your program at 11 a.m. She is the co-host of Bloomberg Technology. Let's get to Nuveen, head of equities, and CIO Sarah Malik. She joins us now. And Sarah, I'll just ask first, after really the biggest earnings report of the season, we've been waiting for months, it seems. Do you feel more bullish this market, so driven by, the AI hope?
I'm bullish on artificial intelligence. I think it's alive and well. With NVIDIA, the two key factors that are positive for this stock are China and Blackwell. They've been big concerns for China. What is a headwind is now a tailwind because of the $8 billion hit they took to China. And with Blackwell, the issues that people were worried about with the ramp have been resolved. So both of those are very positive. And we saw from first quarter earnings from other companies like Microsoft and from software companies that AI and demand there is very strong. So I don't think the AI trade is dead. I think NVIDIA proved that. I think that's a fundamental positive for the markets going forward. Now, on the other side, I think tariffs are a short-term gain, but also still going to be a long-term pain for the market. So tariffs are a different story than the tech trade.
Well, it's funny. I mean, NVIDIA, absolutely the biggest earnings report of the season, but it feels like at least the mind share this morning has been taken by that court order basically blocking the Liberation Day tariffs that we got in April. And it seems like your uncertainty is the word of the morning, that this maybe is a short-term positive, but injects even more uncertainty into the trade process. Talk us through how you're thinking about this.
Well, short-term bump for the markets, but I don't think it will be long-lived because of that uncertainty around what will happen from here. It's actually less clear than what we had before the court blocked. So going forward, Trump can still put tariffs on China and raise those from where we are today. Second is Section 122 of the trade agreement, which allows up to 15% tariffs for up to 150 days. And third, of course, is appealing the court's decision and also what kind of permanent tariffs may occur going forward. So I think there's more uncertainty going forward around tariffs. The base case of 10% tariffs on the rest of the world hit GDP on our calculations by about 1.5%, which was not going to put us into a recession. We would just skirt a recession in that case. Now, of course, we need to think again, where will tariffs be from here going forward?
By the way, Sarah, we heard from Best Buy today that they don't really expect a change in consumer behavior. We haven't seen a lot of companies really pull their forecasts as we feared at the beginning of this earnings season. We don't get much higher inflation prints, at least so far. Did we have a little bit too much fear about these tariffs and their results going into this quarter? And do things look a little bit better than maybe you expected?
We haven't seen the impact of tariffs yet. That's going to take 3 or 4 months to run through the numbers. So markets did overreact around Liberation Day, around what they thought were going to be extreme tariffs. And then negotiations have pulled that number down a bit. And I think that's why markets have recovered. The driver of this economic cycle is the consumer, as you pointed out. And consumer data has been mixed. In first quarter earnings, we saw mixed numbers out of companies, mixed guidance. The good news is this week we saw strong consumer confidence numbers come out with a big bounce back up to 98. And tomorrow PCE inflation data comes out and it's likely to hit a 4-year low. So the hard data and the soft data for the economy has been strong. First quarter earnings growth came in at about double estimates, 12% growth year over year. So the economy is telling you everything's fine. The fear for the markets, of course, is what does it mean for the second half when those tariffs come into play? I still think they will come into play. What does that mean for markets? That's the calculation that needs to happen. But the good news is we're starting from a strong base with a strong economy and earnings growing low double digits.
Sarah, what do you think this means for the Fed? There was a really interesting note out from Neil Dutta over at Renaissance Macro this morning. He says, in his view, at the margin, this puts some pressure back on the Fed that maybe we should be emphasizing less near-term inflation data and putting more weight on employment. How are you viewing it?
The Fed has stated that they're going to view tariff-driven inflation as a one-time bump. We've consistently had an expectation at Nuveen for 2 Fed rate cuts this year. We're sticking to that starting later this summer. So I think all of that is going to be what the Fed is looking at. Now, the issue with employment is that employment markets tend to crack right about when a recession starts. So if the Fed waits for the employment markets to crack, they may actually fall behind the curve with their rate cuts. I think the Fed needs to be more preemptive and cut rates before they see a significant decline in the employment markets.
All right, Sarah, great to get some time with you. That is Nuveen's Sarah Malik. Let's get back to these markets right now and take a look at the breakdown of this rally because, boy, as you would expect it, we have a lot of names in the green today, more than 300 if you take a look at the S&P 500. And right at the top, you guessed it, it's NVIDIA. This is the biggest gainer when it comes to a points basis, adding 22 points to the S&P 500 right now. But it's not just NVIDIA. You also have Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, Meta, Alphabet, all your big tech names really stepping up to the plate right now. On the downside, there are some losers that we have to talk about. Salesforce being there, down about 6%. You also have Netflix and Uber trading places for who is the second biggest loser in this market. And this setup is broadly what you're going to see if you take a look at the sector breakdown as well. We'll go there now, and there's more green than red, similar to what we saw at the stock level. You have consumer discretionary up there, but it's big tech that's leading the way. And just to highlight how much NVIDIA is driving this market right now, if we click into what is the best performing in the name in the tech sector right now, it's NVIDIA up at the top, now up 6%, Matt Miller.
You mentioned Trading Places.
Yeah.
Have you seen that pivotal film?
Do you think I have?
I don't think you have.
I haven't. Sure, it's great.
All right, I think you should definitely watch it this weekend. Coming up next, Elf Beauty buys Hailey Bieber's beauty brand, Rhode, for $1 billion. I'll figure out a way to explain that. When we come back, we're going to talk to Mandy Fields, the CFO of Elf Beauty, about that deal and how she's dealing with trade uncertainty next. This is Open Interest.
In case you missed it on Balance of Power.
If we're going to get all this revenue from tariffs, why would the president be pushing for higher taxes on anybody? Because our understanding is for the wealthy, he's looking at a new rate of 39.6%. And I thought the Republican Party didn't stand for that kind of thing.
Well,
you realize that the tariff revenues doesn't count toward the reconciliation numbers. Don't ask why. I can't understand why. We're running it like 20, 25 billion a month, and they're not counting it, but we'll leave that aside for another day. This is Washington. They have their own accounting practices. So the president's trying to make sure he gets no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. And if he says, look, the richest Americans, remember, he cut it from 39.6 to 37. So if he just goes back to what he did last time, you know, I'm in favor of that. I think it's smart.
Don't miss Balance of Power live every weekday.
Listen carefully. Can you hear the rhythm in the markets? Not just in the syncopations triggered by inflation, but in the preludes leading to global elections, in the dissonance that moves the Nikkei, and the rising chorus conducted by AI. There's music in the markets, and if you want to learn to listen for it, we'll show you how.
Bringing you up-to-the-minute geopolitical news wherever and whenever it happens. I'm Anne-Marie Hordern in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and this is Bloomberg.
U.S. tech is influencing global markets.
Technology is driving business across Europe.
Companies in Asia are betting on tech.
Tune in to Bloomberg Business Week Daily.
We got to talk crypto.
From the magazine that helps global leaders stay ahead.
What's the conversation around your company?
Bringing you insight on the people, companies, and trends shaping today's complex economy.
Planning very big things.
A new level of premium.
Plus global business, finance, and tech news as it happens.
The floodgates of innovation are going to open up.
You can't fake passion. You either are or you aren't.
Bloomberg Business Week Daily, only on Bloomberg.
Okay,
All right,
couple of minutes,
time now for our top
15 minutes till the new hour candle. We're not really getting much right now. I feel like it's Gift and Ritesh in the stream right now, and I know you guys are pretty active inside of Discord, so yeah, we're just gonna watch gold. Gold is currently dropping back down again. Half hour hourly candle. I think we just got to sit through a bit of a, you know, consolidation. But the new 4-hour candle should be opening soon. And then we'll go from there, yeah? But it does look like dollar's going to pull back. Gold's going to pull back a little bit. Majors are going to pull back as well. What's going on, Mark? Money Day. You're late, but you're here. Yeah, better late than never, bro. I was even thinking about closing the stream pretty soon, you know. Yeah, I think we should just keep an eye out for those because, you know, because we've had the move already from, you know, earlier on in this session, you know, realistically 12:30 today to about 1 was the best time, right, to look for those shorts on the dollar. So now obviously I don't know, right, if we're gonna get this kind of play here from the dollar, or we're gonna get, you know, potentially this kind of play from the dollar. Do you guys understand? Like, I don't know if we're going to pull back higher before we distribute lower, or we're going to consolidate and create a redistribution, right, in a small range here and then drop off. Like, that's the two options that I see right now. I'm more on the side of option one. I think this one is more achievable than this one here. I don't really think we're going to pull all the way back up here, but I could be wrong, right? So it's good to keep an eye out for both.
I want to ask about the exposure that you have to China, especially considering what we saw yesterday out of this court. I mean, how much uncertainty
It's good to keep an eye out for both.
surrounding trade for you and your job?
But I do think, like, you know, gold's probably going to keep going. And we can look for an entry inside of there. You know, I've showed you guys this continuation play as well. Yeah. But other than that, I'm just going to keep you guys updated inside of Discord. As Gift says, he's going to watch in the EastEnders in between. Lol. I haven't watched EastEnders in ages. And just see how market's going to do, because like I said earlier, I do think we are going to get a move. Like, we might get like a little, like the last stretch of today's price action, but it's going to happen later on in the day. I think we've got to give it till, you know, 5 p.m, 6 p.m, 7 p.m. See if you can catch a move during the PM, NYPM session. Do you know what I mean? I think that's all. Gift says you're missing out. EastEnders is lit. I don't doubt that, man. I used to watch EastEnders, you know. So I do get you. But for me to get back into it again, especially when I'm not seeing the old faces, you know, I think Phil was M'd off, right? Yeah, I feel like EastEnders probably got a bunch of new characters in it now, and I'm probably not going to follow along as well as I want to. Oh, swear, Phil's still around. How is he still around? Did he die? I remember a while back he was supposed to die or something like that. Or there was an accident or something like that. Like, if anyone's trading stock market, this low here is pretty good as a target, you know, to get ran. I think that low looks pretty good. But yeah, anyways, guys, I'm just gonna leave it there. And I'll post some setups inside of Discord, and I'll keep you guys updated there. Money day.